Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening to Unlocking Greatness podcast with Zenja Glass. Feel free to call me Z. I want to talk to you all straight from my heart today. I always do well when I just speak about what I'm dealing with and what I'm going through. I want to talk to you all today about becoming the goal. Becoming the goal. If you change what you believe about yourself and you allow that to impact your habitual behavior, in other words, the things that you do on a daily basis, you don't even have to set a goal because you become the goal. You become the goal because on a daily basis, your actions are going to be in line with what you're setting out to do. Let me just say that again. If you change what you believe about yourself, change what you believe about yourself, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. And if you allow that to impact your behavior, your habits, the things that you do on a daily basis, you don't even have to actually set a goal because you become the goal. Your actions are going to walk in line with what you believe and what you have accepted as truth. I very rarely talk about business with you all because I try not to mix the two, even though when I started this podcast, I did commit to you all that we're going to be talking about spiritual things, but I'm also going to talk about business ideas and to help you guys with, your entrepreneur dreams or whatever. This is one time I'm going to seep into that just a little bit. I don't think that you all know this about me. Before I set out to do anything, because right now I'm in the middle of a major pivot. My company actually is in the middle of a major pivot. We've done some pretty phenomenal things and we're pivoting. Before I set out to do anything, before I have a talk with my crew, before I, begin to take the first step, you want to know the first thing that I do? I get it before I get it. I think I'm going to do some sort of a class or something on that. Get it before you get it. And what I mean by that is I capture it in the spirit first. I sit down and I get a vision of, God, what is it that's mine? Remember before King David went into war, he asked God, shall I do this? Remember that? What is it that's mine? What's the vision that you have for me? What's the vision that I see that I can do? So before I get another office unit or what have you, and my crew knows this, I literally would pace in that office, an empty space, just so you know, probably, I think in one time I did it for like a year and a half. Literally, I would go in there, sit, walk around, sit in each room every couple days or what have you. And I'll sit in each room and I'll just sit and I'll just say, what is the vision? Why is this room calling me? God, what is it you want me to do? Remember I talked about before I started up my agency, how I would go literally door to door. I didn't have anything. I didn't have an office. I didn't have an interview room. I had absolutely nothing. But I knew that God told me, here's what I want you to do. I knew, and I captured it in the spirit first. So when I'm dealing with issues, I had a long meeting today with one of my staff members. I won't go into detail about anything. All I can tell you is this. When I know that I have a clear vision of what it is that I'm setting out to do, and I at least believe this is the direction that God wants me to take, that it's already been given to me, that is at least the next move that I need to make. Whether it works out well or not is not in question. I just know in my heart that this is what I need to do. There is no devil in hell that can stop me. There's no circumstance that can stop me. There's no situation that can stop me. I want to breathe into you all the ideal of not being afraid to make a pivot. I think that's what's holding a lot of people up. Is sometimes we get afraid to make a pivot. We're afraid to make a turn. We're afraid to do the things that we need to do so that we can walk in alignment with what we know. And you may say, well, Z, where's this coming from? I know, I guess I shouldn't say for a fact. Let me just say I strongly believe, because I've had so many conversations with people lately. There's something that's just not quite right you might be feeling inside. Something that you kind of, you need to be doing this. You have the knowledge. And your mind is telling you what you're capable of doing, and you know it can get done, but your results are not showing it. You can evaluate your own life and think about this. The results is actually not showing what you feel in your head and in your heart. And then the frustration comes because you know what you should be doing. You're making some steps with it, but the results is just not showing it. And so you ask yourself, well, how is it that, and that's why I started off by talking about becoming the goal. Because I know, especially it's amazing whenever a new year rolls around, something that people normally always do is make their, New Year's resolution, right? And you wonder why, what do they say? Within the first 30 days, the vast majority of people have already broken it, not even following it. And I think that's because we set all these goals, but there's no shift in our mindset. There's no shift in, I call it our belief system. So it becomes easy to let something go when it gets difficult, because you never claimed it in the spirit. And you may say, well, Z, you're being a little bit too spiritual for me. I don't know quite what that means. Let me just break it down in the simplest term. Even if you're not, quote unquote, religious, at the very least, you want to have a vision of the direction you're going. You want to have a focus, some sort of an aim. You want to claim, I always say in the spirit, this is mine. This is what's going to come to me. And I strongly, strongly believe whatever it is in the spirit that you claim and that's yours, I strongly believe the earth has to yield and give it to you. That's a whole nother subject, whole nother Bible lesson, but I'm just letting you know, I strongly believe that, because there's nothing that will stop you from achieving that. Become the goal. Forget about trying to set the goal, become the goal. And you become the goal by how you walk in your daily life. What are you doing? What you guys don't know is I've recently started, when I get up in the morning, I have this little statement that I've written out. It's about 2 pages long. And it's a statement of how I see my life and where I want to see myself going. And where, to be honest with you, where I feel God wants me to go. And it's a statement about, just the things that I want to do. And I literally get up and I read it. I have it on my phone. I literally have it recorded. I even let my staff listen to it, to be quite honest with you. And I constantly remind myself, this is who I am. This is the direction that I'm going in my life. And this is the final results of what I see happening. Now, of course, I commit that to God in prayer. In fact, it starts off as a prayer, to be quite honest with you. And you may say, well, Z, that's a little weird. Well, no, it's not. What I'm trying to help you guys to see is there's so many phenomenal people out there, especially my subscribers. You guys are so amazing, because some of you guys, just so you know, I clicked on your little picture and I looked up what you're about and what you do, and I'm just blown away. I just love you guys. I really do. I think what hurts me most is, I guess I'm going too fast. I know that life is short. Me losing my son has taught me that. And I think I just get irritated or frustrated, if I can be very honest with you guys, at all of the amazing talent that's out there, all of the amazing gifts. And to see many of you sitting on it and not taking it to the levels that you can take it, because you're afraid, or there's obstacles, or there's this, or I tried and I think it just irritates me a little bit, if I can be honest, because I look at you all and I look at myself, so I'm speaking to me as well, that the world needs us. The world needs your talents. There's many people out there right now that's got a book inside of them that should have already been written. The world needs to read it. The world needs to learn from you. I didn't know a doggone thing about podcasting. You guys know that. Go back to my first episode. I think I was like sitting on the floor somewhere, I didn't know a single thing about it. All I knew is God put in my spirit, all of this mess I've let you go through, people out there need to hear about this. And I need for you to get on camera, to get on a microphone and speak. I didn't know the first thing about anything. Didn't even know, couldn't even tell you what kind of microphone. I knew nothing. All I knew is I've got to walk in obedience and do what he's telling me to do. Now, some of you already know, are thinking, well, Z, that's good. God speaks to you. He don't speak to me like that. Okay, so let's walk down that road. Let's just temporarily, I hate to say it like this, sort of kind of take God out of the picture for those who feel like, Z, I just don't hear from God. Let me walk you through what I did with a friend the other day. And she's already texted and called me a couple times and said, Z, you just have no idea how much you've helped me in this conversation. I'm trying to think how I can walk you guys through it without telling her story. Let's just say, let me just give some basics. She's an extremely talented person. And there's a number of different areas that she can go into and do. And she's one of those people that just accomplishes just about everything she sets out to do. But she's done so much and so many things. She's just kind of been all over the place a little bit. Still a successful, amazing young woman. I call anybody that's not in their 50s, 40s and younger young. But anyway, you get my point. But some kind of way, she kind of always ends up at the same point. And so we had a beautiful discussion, and I said to her, what is it, the one thing that you would do that if you can do it for free, what would you do? I said, let's just assume your finances are in order. You've got, millions in your account. Money really is not an option for you. And this is something you gladly would just get up and do on a daily basis or a weekly basis that you just love doing. And in fact, let's kind of make that, I guess, sort of a rhetorical question. Ask that question of yourself, because that's what I asked her. And I already knew what her answer would be. I can't give the answer because I want to respect the privacy of the conversation. But because I've known her for so many years, she's always been consistent about this one particular area in her life that she really wants to grow and do. She's just a natural with it, just a natural. And sure enough, she said what I predicted she would say. And so when we had that conversation, I was saying to her, so what is it that prevents you from doing just that and staying on track with that? And we went into some deeper conversations, and I'm going to put something together and kind of go in a little bit deeper about that. But we went into some deeper conversations, and what it really boiled around to is, one, being distracted with all of the things that come at her in life. Two, she sets a goal, but then sometimes that goal is not achieved because she's got all these other distractions going on. And then sometimes it's like chasing a rabbit, like, okay, well, now I'm doing this and now I'm doing that. And by the time we finished talking, I basically said to her, do you realize how dangerous you would be if you just focus in and harness in on the gifts and talents God's given you and go in that direction and give it your all? Like put it all, go all in that direction. Do you have any idea the magnitude of what can happen when you really pour your energies and your effort into what truly you desire and want to do? Without the distractions, and that's another thing that she and I talked about. And I'm trying to be careful with the story because I always like to respect people's privacy. But let's just say there's a situation where I don't want to say is always looking for the approval from someone else in her life, but just sort of getting a little bit off skirt by talking to someone else about, hey, here's what I'm thinking of doing. And then some kind of way, every single time she talks about that person tends to take her off track a little bit, And so I had that talk with her about how about you just focusing and going all in on your God-given talents and what you want to do, what you would do for free, right? And even though we were on the phone, you can just feel the light in her voice. She just was like, you know what, Z, you're so right. I've been saying for years, this is who I am and what I want to do. And I'll set a goal, but then I'll just allow myself to get distracted. I'm going to stay my butt on track. And so my point that I'm wrapping this around to is I'm trying to encourage her to become the goal. First, know what's rightfully yours. What gifts did God give me? What talent did he give you? What talent did he give you? You guys already know the answer to that, or at least the majority of you do. And if you don't know, I remember many, many, many years ago, I read a book or something, and someone said, if you don't know what your natural talents are, find 8 people, I think 8 or 10 people, they said, and ask each one of them, what is it that you think I'm good at? And you'll find that all of them are going to give you pretty much the same answer. And I remember doing that a long time ago, and sure enough, friend after friend, person after person said, Z, you always love motivating and inspiring people. You are a great speaker. You're not afraid to talk in front of a crowd. And you definitely are business minded, and you definitely love God. I mean, literally consistently, that's what everyone was saying about me. And isn't it ironic that here I am, have my butt on a camera, talking to a camera and having a podcast and doing a ton of other things that, God willing, I'm getting ready to set out to do. In that category, I should say. So even if you feel like, man, I don't know, God doesn't speak to me, because I do hear that sometimes. He doesn't speak to me as clearly. He doesn't make it clear. So, and even if you say, well, Z, even if I write it down, there's just so many things I do. How about you ask a couple of people, anyone that knows you? I think it needs to be at least 5 people. And just ask them, just say, can you give me your honest opinion? What do you think I'm good at? I think that'd be a nice little way of at least getting an idea of what your strengths are if you don't know it yourself. So anyway, let me just kind of wrap this up and bring this back full circle. This is all about becoming the goal, not being afraid to pivot, not being afraid to do the things that you know to do. Capture it first in the spiritual, then you get it in the physical. I'm going to say that again. Capture it in the spiritual, get it in the physical. Capture it in the spiritual. Because when you capture it in the spiritual, there's not a devil in hell that can stop you from getting it. The earth has to yield and give it to you. Your habitual behavior and your belief system, knowing that this is what God has for you, this is who I am, this is my strength, is going to yield and give it to you in the physical. You guys have listened to many of my podcasts. I think there's one called My Testimony. If you haven't listened to that one, go all the way back. I don't even remember which episode that was, but I think it's called My Testimony. And I really, for the first time, poured out my heart about some private things that I prayed about or that God revealed to me. And I gave, I think, 3 or 4 major examples of how I captured something in the spirit and went and got it in the physical when all odds were against me. All odds were against me. So go back and listen to that one if you haven't listened to it. Capture it in the spiritual. Get it in the physical. Capture it in the spiritual. Sit and let God talk to you. Talk to him. Write it down. What is yours that's sitting out there just waiting on you to go pick it up? Now that's a good question to ponder on. What's yours that's sitting out there? Opportunities, businesses, whatever, organizations, books, I don't know. What's out there sitting waiting for you to go pick it up? It's just waiting on you to command it to happen. What's out there? Capture it in the spiritual, get it in the physical. I think I'm going to create something. I don't know. I'll come up with what it's going to be. If it'll be a class or something, and it'll be free, by the way, but just something that I can come up with and go a lot deeper into this, because I feel like when I do podcasts, sometimes I'm rushing, and I really want to dissect and take my time and walk you guys through step by step exactly how I go about doing that. And I think I'm going to call it Get It Before You Get It. I think that's a good title. Get it before you get it. That's making sense to me. Get it before you get it. But in the meantime, I want you all to practice that. Capturing it in the spiritual and getting it in the physical. I want to read a passage because you know it's hard for me to do a podcast without reading something. I just want to read this quickly. You guys know I love the book of Ecclesiastes because I just love Solomon. Solomon was, David's son, right? Solomon was the one that just achieved everything that people could ever want. Vineyards and homes and servants. And he said he denied himself nothing his eyes wanted. That's Solomon. But anyway, I don't know if you all ever read Ecclesiastes chapter 9 or chapter 11. And in chapter 9, and this is what motivates me more than anything. He says, whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. For in the grave, where you are going, there is neither working, nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom. That's Ecclesiastes 9:10. I'll say it again. He says, whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. Why? Why do I need to do this with all my might? For in the grave, where you are going, there is neither working, nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom. And you all know it's hard for me to read that because I automatically think about my son. He was such a bright, intelligent person. And I just recently got his little laptop and computer and stuff, and I'm using it for myself now. And I just look at all the knowledge and wisdom he had, and none of that can go with you when you leave. You guys, I know you may get tired of hearing me say this, but I don't care because I say it out of love. We all are going to die one day. We all are going to leave this earth one day. That's just a fact. And what I don't want is you all being afraid to take chances, to pivot, to go out and do the things that you desire to do because you're concerned about what someone else will think, even if it's your closest family member. Trust me, I can tell you some stories. That's another subject. I don't want you to delay because you're concerned about what someone's going to think about you. Their opinions are going to die with them when they go into the grave. Let me just say that again. If you're concerned about what a family member, a friend, a coworker, someone in your school, what they're going to think about you because all of a sudden you're on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, doing whatever that is so outside of the box that they put you in, say this: their opinions are going to die with them. You know, I can't believe it was over 30 years ago that I finished high school. It feels like it was just a few years ago. I'm already in my 50s. If I'm tremendously blessed by the grace of God to live a few more decades, that's just right around the corner. I'm trying to leave a legacy for my children, my children's children, and hold on, for you, for your kids, for generations to come, to be able to watch these videos, watch whatever it is I put out, whether it's classes, books, whatever, and to be able to grow in dark places and to not give up, to not commit suicide, to not be depressed. I get emotional about it because I care. Whenever God decides to take this little shell of a body, I want something to be left behind that's going to help people to not give up. Something that someone can go back to and listen to and watch and say, I don't know who that woman is with that little afro, but my goodness, she's helping me. That's why I tell God every day, I say, God, just use me. Just use me. That's all I want you to do is use me. You know how difficult it is to be on camera doing this when your livelihood and everything you do is in the business world? In fact, I just got a call yesterday from someone. He's an executive. Talking about a situation. And he said to me, Z, I've had one of the most difficult weeks. And he said, you want to know what got me through? He said, your podcast. And I almost fell out of my chair because I have such tremendous high respect for this man. And if he's listening now, he's probably going to laugh and call me when this airs. I had no idea that he, of all people, would take the time to even look me up, let alone look up my podcast. You know how many people have issues with things? I have had some people say, you know, hey, and that's another thing. For those who are simply listening to this podcast, I'm doing a variety of things now. So I encourage you to come to the YouTube channel and watch it because I'm also doing things that I don't put in the podcast for you guys to hear on Google and, oh my goodness, where else is my podcast playing? Amazon, Apple, Pandora, and all these other places. Any place you can listen to a podcast, I think I'm streaming there now. But anyway, my point is that there's other things that I'm doing, such as these skits. God has been waking me up in the middle of the night and giving me these skits in my heart. And he's telling me these are different ways of reaching people so that they can know what goes on in life. So I'm doing these skits. And if you have time to go to the YouTube channel and watch it, you'll see these skits. It's like a paradigm, and it shows what happens when you're tempted to go off on somebody or you're tempted to give up. And then there's a skit showing me in a red dress on one side and a blue dress on one side. And anyway, I'm going somewhere with this. I didn't get off track this time because I'm making a point. The point is, that's one of the things that God put in my heart to do. And I was a little something. I was like, oh my goodness, God, people going to really think I'm off the deep end. Like, here I am, you know, I run a staffing agency. I do business presentations. I've got a whole crew. I've got people that look me up every day, right? And now all of a sudden I'm acting like I'm doing these skits. Like, what is this about? So I bring that up to say, one, go to the YouTube channel and watch them if you have no idea what I'm talking about. because they don't play through the podcast. But 2, I even received some opposition from that. Not much. Like I'd say 99% of the people absolutely love it. But you know what? You have those few people that's like, I don't really like this. I like you better just being on a microphone and just talking into the camera. Like I don't like all the props and all the other those things that you do. I just like you being on camera. And you know what? I don't get offended by that because I don't think they come from a place of trying to hurt me. My point is that you're going to do things that not everybody agrees with, and it's okay. And I guess if they was paying me and I was on their payroll or something, I would pivot and do what they want me to do. But because I'm walking in alignment with what God wants me to do, I'm willing to be a fool for Christ and do whatever he tells me to do. So you don't need approval from everybody. You are going to get some opposition here and there. I've talked to you guys about that. There's people that don't like my afro. There's people that don't like the way I dress. There's people that's called me monkey and a gorilla. All kinds of things. That just lets me know I'm on the right track. Be concerned when they're not talking about you. That's when you need to be concerned, when they're not saying anything. People always have something to say when greatness is in the making. So anyway, I'm drifting. I forgot the point I was getting at. The point I was getting at is if you're concerned about others' opinions, just say to yourself, and I know this sounds kind of morbid to think this way, just say to yourself, their opinions are going to die with them. Anyway, there was one other passage, Ecclesiastes chapter 11, and I'm going to close it out. In Ecclesiastes chapter 11, in verse 6, this is what King Solomon said. He said, sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let not your hands be idle, for you do not know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both would do equally well. Now that's interesting. Sow your seed. Sometimes we get so stuck in making a pivot or making a turn or doing that thing that we know to do because we don't know if it's going to work out. We don't know, okay, how am I going to finance this? Where's this going to come? Sow your seed. You don't know whether it's going to succeed or not, or whether both's going to do equally well. So, don't mean to yell. It's only because I care. Capture it in the spirit. Go pick it up in the physical. Capture it in the spirit. Know that God has given it to you. Go pick it up in the physical. So, when it comes to setting goals, I want to reiterate, there's nothing wrong with actually setting a goal, but switch your mindset to, I'm going to become the goal. That's the pivot that I want to see in you all. And I want to see comments on it too. Normally, I don't even ask you all to comment, but I want you to comment this time. Change the way you think, your belief system. Allow that to influence your habits. And instead of trying to set a goal, nothing wrong with setting goals, by the way, become the goal. Let your life clearly show that you've become the goal. Does that make sense? I love you all. You know that I do. I'm doing my very best to pull you out of dark places, to pull you out of your little paradigm, to pull you out of that little box you may have locked yourself into, and to force you into greatness. That's all I'm trying to do is just speak life into you, okay? I love you guys. This is Z with Unlocking Greatness Podcast. Bye-bye. Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening. This is Z with Unlocking Greatness Podcast. Please don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the notification button. Love you all. Bye-bye.